Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of the British estate agent Suzy Lamplugh, who was 25 when she went missing on July 28th of 1986 in Fulham, London. She had an appointment to show a house in Shorrolds Road to someone she called Mr. Kipper. According to her office diary, she recorded the details of the apartment as 1245 Mr. Kipper, 37 Shorrolds O/S, and the O/S meaning outside the property. 3 witnesses saw her outside 37 Shorrolds Road between 12:45 and 1 p.m. She seemed to be waiting for someone. A man walking past the house saw her there at 12:50, and 10 minutes later, the owner of the house next door heard someone leaving number 37 and saw Lamplugh and a man leaving the house and looking back up at it. This was also corroborated by another man who was also walking past the property around the same time. He noticed that the man was holding a bottle of champagne with ribbons around it. Witnesses reported that they then saw the pair entering a car, and the neighbor thought that the pair had been arguing before they entered the car. Witnesses described the man as a white male between 25 and 30 with a dark complexion and with dark hair swept back. He was immaculately dressed in a dark charcoal suit and was described as a public schoolboy type. Another man said he had seen a couple arguing between 2 and 2:30 p.m. in the area. Now, I'm not sure if that was the same couple. And there was a sighting of Lamplugh driving her car erratically away from Shorrolds Road, arguing with the man in the car, causing the witness to swerve to avoid a collision. Suzy's white Ford Fiesta was sighted poorly parked outside a garage opposite 123 Stevenage Road, about 1 mile away. Though her close friend Barbara Whitfield insisted that she had seen Suzy driving north up the Fulham Palace Road in her car with a man at around 2:45 p.m. She had waved to her as she cycled south down the road, but Suzy was talking to her passenger and did not see her. A woman living at 139 Stevenage Road also reported possibly seeing Lamplugh with a smartly dressed man wearing a suit by the spot where her car was seen parked. At 3:30 p.m., her colleagues at the estate agency were becoming concerned that she had not returned, and at 4:30 they traveled to 37 Shorrolds Road to see if she was there, but of course she was not. And at 5:30 they called the police to report her missing. Now, there is a suspect by the name of John Cannan, who was a convicted criminal responsible for the murder of Shirley Banks in 1987 and many other assaults and abductions and attempted abductions since his release from prison 3 days before Suzy's disappearance. In November 2002, the Crown Prosecution Service concluded that there was insufficient evidence to charge Cannan, though police announced at a press conference that their belief was that he had murdered her. Now, John Cannan himself passed away in 2024, so even if they were to convict him now, he's not going to serve any time for her murder. He was known to have appeared uninvited at a house that was for sale at Shorrolds Road in the days before Lamplugh's disappearance, believing that the young female occupant was alone in the house, and they acted strangely until the woman's husband appeared, causing Cannan to quickly leave. DNA evidence has also shown that Lamplugh had previously been in a car that Cannan owned at the time of her disappearance. Now, a dark-colored BMW parked almost outside of 37 Shorrolds Road is apparently also implicated in this by a witness. This BMW allegedly tore across the road when somebody came out of a park and came to halt with somebody with their hand on the hooter, in other words the horn, pressing it for a very long time. And as they stood there, they saw a blonde young lady. She looked as though she was laughing, or she could have been screaming. What worried them, the witness, was the thought of how could she drive with what was going on, but it never occurred to them that it was a left-handed drive car. Of course, this would be an interesting detail since this case is from the UK, where most cars have the steering wheel on the right because they drive on the left side of the road. This same BMW had been left abandoned and discovered 6 months later, and it was registered to a Belgian man known sometimes as Mr. Kipper, K-I-P-E-R. However, the car's owner was located in Belgium and had a confirmed alibi for the day of her disappearance, and his BMW had been in a garage in Belgium on that day. So he was swiftly eliminated as a suspect. Very interesting, though, that it is the same name, or close to what she had written, because she wrote Kipper, K-I-P-P-E-R, and this is a Mr. Kipper, K-I-P-E-R, so she could have possibly misheard that, and written, of course, the other spelling, or the suspect could have misheard and given her the wrong spelling, like when he was about to try and get some details on the car he was about to borrow. Now, an artist's rendition of the person that they saw at the scene was made, and the detectives noted that the artist's impression of Mr. Kipper strongly resembled John Cannan. What is also interesting to note is that 3 days before she disappeared, on the same day on which Cannan was released from prison, Suzy had visited the Prince of Wales pub in Putney, which was also frequented by Cannan, and while she was there, the contents of her handbag went missing, and after she left, they were found by the landlord of the pub. The landlord telephoned Suzy to inform her that she could collect her belongings, and they arranged to meet at 6 p.m. on Monday, the 28th of July, which is also the day that she disappeared. Several hours after Suzy disappeared, a woman identifying herself as Sarah phoned the pub saying that she had a message for Suzy, and she left her number. Then a man called the pub claiming to be a policeman and asking if the pub had Suzy's diary and checkbook. The police confirmed that the man was not a policeman, and it was not known who Sarah was. The landlord said he gave the paper with the number for Sarah to the police, although it was later lost. This first call was placed well before Suzy's disappearance had even been reported, and it may have been Suzy herself making a plea for help or calling under duress. Then the man who called later may have been Cannan. The reason why they believe these two things is because when Shirley Banks had been abducted by Cannan and held hostage in his flat in 1987, she also placed a call under duress to her workplace the next morning, stating that she was sick and would not be reporting to work that day. And it is believed that she placed the call because she at the time believed that Cannan would let her go unharmed, which of course turned out not to be true. She was later found deceased. So far, no body has been found. And with nobody actually convicted, that means this case is still unsolved. And that is why I was asked to take a look at it using the tarot. We're going to do that starting with the vice versa deck, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, we'll move on to the Hush Tarot deck, which is this one. So as per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's take a look what we got, because I wasn't entirely sure what question to focus on since it's pretty much clear, at least I would think, who the perpetrator is, and she hasn't been found, but I'm guessing we could conclude that the certain outcome has happened. But let's see what we've got here, what information we're going to get. We have here the, what looks to be the Emperor in reverse. Yeah, there he is. And upside down, so backwards and upside down. It's kind of like being let down in a spectacular way. I always wonder what this cube is back there. There's this really weird blue cube that kind of looks like it might be the world or something in a cube form, but it also kind of looks like some type of mystical material that we do not normally see in this world. And the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm wondering if this is just her being spectacularly let down by people who should have been there to protect her, like not necessarily the co-workers or something like that, or the boyfriend, but more like the system, because the Emperor does tend to represent systems in a way. So perhaps we're looking at the reasons why the person who did it was ultimately not charged. They were actually cleared due to lack of evidence. Maybe we're going to take a look at why that was. Next card that we have here is the Four of Pentacles, which is normally again with this torch. You see the torch here as well. So Four of Pentacles is trying to balance your resources, but perhaps they did not have enough in order to get all of the resources they needed in order to bring this to a somewhat satisfying conclusion, at least. I wonder what the significance of the torches being represented in both cases is here. Like maybe they dropped the torch, dropped the ball, and then they had to scramble to get some resources together in order to get anything together. Not sure. I mean, she was never found. Maybe you can draw some cards later about whether we're ever going to see any evidence of that at some point. In any case, the next card we see here is the Page of Cups backwards and in reverse. This feels like being let down again, and I'm looking down the row and there's a couple more cards that are facing away. So kind of like certain elements just were not working in, I'm guessing this is law enforcement's favor, but obviously not in Suzy's either. This is, I think, mostly pointing at the investigation, like there were negative surprises, perhaps negative surprises on top of negative surprises, so much so that people after a while kind of like started to shrug every time something went wrong, like, yeah, what else is new? And like, this is exactly how it's been going the entire time. Like maybe they were let down, law enforcement, while trying to get this investigation off the ground. We see here, this is Temperance, I believe. If we look at the other side, yes, Temperance. We're looking at the other side of Temperance with the big cat there at the bottom. I feel like this is also a reference to strength, and the eagle, I believe, is also like related to Scorpio, the sign. The Scorpio, it tends to be somebody who really delves into secrets and to the obscure, or really like goes deep into details, that type of thing. Has an eagle eye, obviously, but the lion is sitting in its place looking very much dejected, or at least very unenergetic, shall we say. And the eagle as well is grounded, like they were not only with their back turned against them, but they were also kept down in a way. Certain things that they may have wanted to try, or may have had a small window of time for them to try something in. They were too late for whatever reason in order to spread their wings and fly and do their thing successfully. Then the next card we have is the Five of Cups. So maybe there were some things that they could have done better. So it's not entirely like all the people on the side of law enforcement that were trying to get a conviction going were only doing the best. There were also some balls dropped here, because you have these Two of Cups still standing upright while the three over there have fallen. So they should have possibly looked a little more deeply into things, and then they would have seen things that they could have been able to do, but we are looking the other way. There's even a rose growing in the background, like there may have been a key piece of evidence that they kind of just ignored because they didn't recognize it as such, because they were too busy looking at the things that they were not able to do. Then we have the Nine of Wands in reverse. So all of this working against them, or at least it feels like they've been worked against, even though that might not be the case. Like they did have some things they could have done, as this card is saying, is making them very tired, and also making them drag their feet more. They're tired of fighting. They want this to be over. And it's just like very exhausting looking card. Also a very exhausted looking warrior there over there. They tried what they could, and they dropped a few stitches here and there. But ultimately, I don't think that they were to blame for the failure or the failed conviction in this case. We see here a new idea, however, but we also see the crown here. So this may be a reference to the crown, which is what they tend to call, like, I guess, the court or the state, I suppose, in the courts in the UK. They may have come up with a new tactic, and that did not go well, because the next card we have here is the Seven of Pentacles, looking at things growing on the vine. They don't look too good, and on top of that, this is in reverse. So the new plan that they had did not work out, and then it kind of just struggled into a final conclusion, which was that nothing was changing because the wheel is standing still. It's also in reverse. We may even be looking at the wrong side here. Yeah, it's actually the Magician, or is it not? Hang on, I think this is the wheel. Like, if it were the other way around, the Magician might be able to do something over here, but there was so little that they could do that it is now basically frozen in time. The powers that be, represented by the Sphinx here, are keeping their paw on it. Nothing can turn, nothing can change, and the energy is wasted. The moment is gone. Now all we can do is wait, perhaps balance our finances until the next ship comes in, and then hope for the best with that. attempts, because then we see the 10 of Pentacles, which is an interesting card right now, because next question that I had was, are we ever going to find Suzy? Are we going to come to some type of conclusion? Because if it was the person who we think it was, then we're definitely not going to see any jail time for them, because they've obviously already passed away this year, as a matter of fact, 2024. So we're not going to be able to put him in jail. But if it may be somebody else, or somebody else who is also partially responsible, are we ever going to see them facing any type of jail time? Are we going to find Suzy? Let's see if we can get any cards about that. I'm afraid we don't have a lot of questions to ask here, so we'll have to take what we can get. This is the 10 of... Oh, okay, so we have the 10 of Pentacles over here upright, like hopeful, maybe something will happen. Next card that I draw as a result of, are we going to see some results here, is the 10 of Pentacles in reverse. So that hope is going to be dashed. Looks as though, which is very unfortunate, so we might not see any good results anytime soon. Then we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so we may be working on the wrong thing. This is also one of the Hush Tarot cards that actually has a little note there that says hush. So maybe there are also people trying to tell the people working on it to be quiet about it. Maybe because they know that the things that they're doing are not going to lead to any positive results, and they don't want people coming for them for not having come to a satisfying conclusion. Then we have this card on its side, which is the 8 of Pentacles, which is normally working diligently on a craft. In this case, they are sculpting things. They may be going through certain steps meticulously, but it's not giving them any results, or the things that they are getting are not good enough for them to continue down the correct path. It's kind of like resulting in a stalemate. Then we have the Knight of Swords, which is somebody who speaks rather quickly. So maybe people are saying things that perhaps they shouldn't, or they should have waited to say certain things. And I'm wondering if this is now more recently so as well. I haven't been tracking what's been said about the case in this year, but I know that there was that press conference that the police had to say that they thought that that suspect was definitely the person who did it. But now with them having passed away, there may be people making remarks as well in the public eye that they perhaps should not have, that will possibly work against them. Like if they were to now start talking about all the first row that we just saw, like all the stuff that worked against them, maybe they've got like some legitimate gripes, of course, but airing them out in public may not be the best move. Like that's what I'm trying to say. So maybe some people will be coming for them for the words that they speak, and I'm guessing this is the law enforcement team that was still working on the case. We have the 4 of Cups, which is not being very hopeful about our choices. There are options, but none of them are particularly enticing or good. They don't look like they're very happy with them. As a matter of fact, they're holding something that looks like it has brambles or thorns. They may feel like damned if you do and damned if you don't, like that type of thing. And this thing itself is shaped like a question mark with a big bulbous thing on the end there. So it's like, I don't know which way to go, but either way it does not look good. So they don't look like they're very hopeful about the future of this case ever getting solved. Then we have the Queen of Cups. All right, so maybe somebody is coming up and taking a different approach, an approach of perhaps sympathy, empathy, that type of thing. Also noticing the moon in the background. Maybe somebody who is trying to use some intuition to gleam through the weeds. I'm guessing that has grown up or sprung up around this case to try and perhaps get some new perspective as well. So that's kind of hopeful that somebody's at least looking into this more. I'm guessing this is also a recent development, that they're like now with the death of the one main suspect, there may be more attention on this case, and they're perhaps trying to use this renewed interest to get some more things going, some more information, things like that. Then we have 3 cards that flip simultaneously. Very neatly, I might add, we have the Page of Cups. All right, so there are some surprises here. Now, they're not necessarily good surprises because this bird is hanging on to a hornet's nest or a wasp nest, so they may be stirring up some trouble here that's going to end up stinging them. Strength is waning. It's in reverse. And then we have a 10 of Swords. So this new tack that they might be using may initially land them a lot of criticism and a lot of people coming for them and getting up in their business. I'm seeing bats trying to land in this person's hair. This is why strength is kind of like trying to swat them off, but not really being very successful about it. And we're going to feel very bad about the result for some time, but that doesn't mean that that's the end of the road. Sometimes the Ten of Swords is also darkest before the dawn, like they may be surrounded by all of these things, but there's also things blooming out of this situation. So maybe the extra criticism can really shake things up and do something good. Let's take a look what we get here. King of Cups facing the other way. This is the king, right? Yes, it is. Okay, so maybe the emotions that are being brought up during all of this are misdirected, which may not be a bad thing. But let's take a look. We also have the queen. We have both of them, actually. Queen and King of Cups, both facing away. So some very important people may have some misdirected anger or emotions about this case, which is interesting. That might draw some very negative attention. The next card that we see here is Death. Looking the other way, though, looking toward the hopeful side, these people may be the ones being chastised by the royal couple over here. And I'm seeing the crow here, which is a messenger, which is interesting. Almost like people coming from the other side trying to give messages to tell them to look around at the positive in the background. Like the one thing they desire to achieve is right behind them if only they turned to look. But by the looks of things, the Eight of Swords are stuck in a certain mindset. So perhaps this whole new tactic that's going to bring them some negative attention is going to scare them back into their box. And then they don't want to do anything that's going to rock the boats. Yeah, they're turning off their intuition, although they do have the chance to glean something. There's a couple of keys sitting right there on a pillow for them to grab if they so chose to do so. And all they need to do for that is, with the Hangman, take a different perspective. So if they do that, perhaps they will get to the positive outcome of the Death card over here with the sun in the background. We have here the Page of Swords. Page of Swords does not look very happy. Look at this guy's face. He looks kind of like angry, but also determined. So maybe they actually get mad as a result of all this chastising and the backlash basically against their initiative. Maybe they will take this new approach or new look at things and then decide to bite back. Hopefully. Let's see what the result of that is. Okay, oops, that one didn't quite fall, but I will take it. So I'm just going to leave this over here because I feel like these are the last cards we're going to get. So this one wanted to fall, but last minute, or I guess got trapped under my hand. Anyway, we have here the Queen of Wands. All right, she's got her eyes closed, and the Queen of Wands is very fiery, very willful, very lovely dress, by the way. Just a lot of fire in her spirit, and I think her closing her eyes, aside from communing with the nature around her to try and get more intuitive messages and inspiration, I think this is also closing her eyes to the criticism. And then we have some new input as well, perhaps some new resources. Maybe they're starting a new campaign to try and get things done. Wondering also if this forest may be a location that they're now looking at and intuitively trying to search, because this is also in a forested area, even though this is more of a manicured garden area that we're looking at. It's going to cost a lot here with this Nine of Pentacles in reverse. But it may be worth the trouble because this queen is very willful and we may see some results. At least we're going to see perhaps some new energy being brought into the case that's going to cost a lot, but will hopefully lead them somewhere with their stubbornness and their words, their choice words that they may be uttering at this time. So I'm seeing that law enforcement had a lot working against them, while also dropping the ball on a few occasions. And then we get a new breath of fresh air, which leads to a lot of backlash, which could trap them in this mindset over here, but it could also be the final push they need to really get willful and get back into the game, so to speak, in order to try and resolve this case once and for all, regardless of the cost, possibly even at somebody's personal finances, because the Nine of Pentacles is also like a personal thing, like individual type of finances. So whoever this queen over here may be, they may be actually personally financing this endeavor. And it doesn't have to be a she, it is a queen here, but it can also be a male who just represents this energy. So it could be male, female, organization, anything, grassroots maybe, because there's a lot of grass here. She's got her feet in the grass as well. That ends up coming together and using their own finances to perhaps help out with solving this case. So that is what I'm seeing for Suzy Lamplugh. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps a lot. If you want to subscribe, that's even more appreciated. In any case, hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.